I'm really super excited that I have the chance to welcome today Isira from Australia to the Conscious Evolution Summit. So my heart goes to you on the other side of the globe, Isira.
Thank you. And my heart is here with you in the now, in our shared spirit. So it's wonderful to co-join with you and everyone joining us as well.
Beautiful. And Isira, I just will read a brief introduction about you so that our audience knows a bit the context of what you are doing. And so Isira is a wisdom keeper. She's a spiritual leader and author of Australian Indigenous heritage who has been ordained by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Embodying wisdom from the many challenges of her life experience, Isira brings rare clarity and unconditional love to the challenges we face. She offers a way to respond realign ourselves and move forward to a new, more empowered life. In the words of many, she's a truly transformative presence. And this is the reason why I reached out to you, and I was very glad when I received a yes from your side. And Isira, maybe we start that I know that it's a challenge regarding the time, but if you could maybe take us a bit into your world, into your history. How did life orchestrate that you became this wisdom keeper and share your wisdom in different ways today?
Well, it did start at a very young age for me. I was born in Ghana land. So in Australia, our Indigenous people, we have different tribal regions, and these lands hold very different energies and powerful consciousness. And even from a very young age, I was deeply connected to country. However, I was born into what seemed like a very ordinary white family. We came from the stolen generation, so our Indigenous heritage had been pushed away and closed up in a locked cupboard, not to be talked about. Despite that, I had a very potent awareness of that and connection and communication with my ancestors and the spirit realm. And so I was having these experiences that were so interconnected with life, with nature. I could see all the energies of everything around me, and yet the people around me weren't having those experiences. So I was most often alienated or told that something was wrong with me. And there was a lot of conflict in our family and my upbringing. And I know most of us have had the challenges. You know, there's a lot of wounded story and traumas that are carried through all of our families. So I certainly had my share of that. But what I did have was this deep state of connection, of awareness within myself that seemed to give me a different way of seeing things. So I became very curious from a young age as to what was really the cause behind the disconnection and the suffering around me. And I became a very deliberate explorer of that. So I went into a lot of self-reflection and spontaneous meditative experiences. And all of these encounters eventually led to certain events in my life that brought unusual people into my world. I had experiences of traveling with, when the body was asleep, I would travel with yogis and sages. I would be communicating on these other levels to the point that on one occasion, I was informed by one of the yogis I was constantly traveling with that he was preparing me, that I needed to be ready because they were going to come and get me. Well, of course, this sounds like something out of, you know, a fantasy story. Well, events unfolded, and it came to the moment where I was connected with a place in South Australia called Buddha House, and that these lamas were due to arrive and that I needed to be there. And it turned out that these two lamas were the two primary yogis I had been traveling with on these other levels. And we recognized each other. And so unfolded a very distinct passage of my journey. I was then taken back to the Himalayas. They had determined, they knew where I was going to be born, when I would be ready to be collected and brought back to the Himalayas. And so that was a passage of deep integration and an affirmation for me, because up until that point, I had been considered very strange, not normal, and was deeply alienated. And so from that point, then more and more parts of my consciousness and my awareness from former lifetimes, everything started coming together. And I was appointed to take on a certain role. I did resist it, I guess, for a while, because I really did not want to resume a journey that was dictated by any elements of ego, because I had seen the trappings that are built up around the spiritual journey and the spiritual ego. And so I really wanted to come from a place of purity of service, and for it not to be influenced by any of the hierarchy or trappings, etc. And so my vow in my previous life had been that I would live and be and share in service beyond a lineage. And so oftentimes people ask me, well, what is your lineage? Yes, I've been ordained by His Holiness Dalai Lama, and I have these incredible threads of background. So my Aboriginality and shamanic experiences with other elders of other nations, etc. Yet I know my lineage is consciousness. It is love. I know that is the lineage of all of us, and that ultimately that's what we're trying to restore. And so sometimes, yes, we have encounters with a particular path or a particular school of thought, but ultimately they're all pointing us back to our essential nature and the grace of that, the opportunity for us to live from that, to be authentic, to be free, and to live in a way that we just don't need the fixations and the labels and the identifications. And so that's the underlying current to my own journey and the realizations that I have come to as well.
So lovely. I resonate so much with what you shared, because there is also quite a similarity in my path, also kind of being really connected to Buddhist tradition and studied 4 years with shamans from the Mayan culture and different influences. And I deeply resonate with what you said, that consciousness and love is really the ground of all of that. So, and I guess also in our audience, people can really relate to that. And hearing that, I wonder, what would you say, what really supports us in coming into this state of clarity where we are not anymore really defined from our ego conditioning, but really can be an instrument and a vessel that this pure, loving, compassionate consciousness can really take us, and we can be of service of us. what did you discover? And yeah, what would you recommend us? How can we come into that embodiment?
Mm. Well, it's really interesting. I feel particularly that you just made reference to embodiment, because oftentimes in the spiritual journey, we're pointed back to awareness, to consciousness, and to pure nature. And there's a lot of elements in the spiritual traditions that tend to foster this sense of withdrawing from the world, and that we go in and we become very insular in that experience, or we want to go off and up and out and ascend or escape the body, etc. When in my experience, I discovered that the more I rested into the play of form in the now, the more I was connected to my senses, the more I was connected to nature and the living moment, the more deeply I could rest into pure awareness and beingness. And so, as within, so without. If we don't have that groundedness of the now and the wonder of this vehicle and nature and creation all around us, then something is a little unhinged. And it's very easy to get lost in the spiritual ego, or an unrealistic notion of what it means to be free, or to be enlightened, or to be in truth, as if it's something else, somewhere else, instead of in every molecule of our body, in every change of the weather of every moment. It's under the ground of our feet. It's in the ordinariness. And the more we embrace this, the more we realize how extraordinary this all is, that we are all this portal of creation. It is emerging from within us, and we are being created.
I really love that you brought this ordinary, being ordinary. I mean, the more I would say I open to that and also embody that, what you share, the more ordinary I feel. But you know, in a very, very good sense. And also what also comes to my mind is also this innocence of a child. Really being in the circumstances, the environment, being with the people like a child would be, with all of that, but yet being more conscious of what is happening. And so I wonder what your take on is, maybe also opening for this more, maybe even a playfulness, because I sense that people, when they are on this path of awakening and enlightenment, they can become very serious.
Absolutely. And it's a delicate balance. I like to draw a bit of a contrast between seriousness and sincerity. Yes, sincere, because when we are really rooted in our true nature and we're connected and open at the same time, there's a sincerity, there's a sacredness, but it's not heavy, it's not officious and serious and that we've got to get it right. It's just absolutely open and in awe and in wonder and in readiness. So it's a beautiful quality, and I love that you commented on the innocence, this innocent nature like a child, because if we're really grounded in the now and we are here centered in the essence of our being, we are in an open state, and we're more capable of responding to life free of the conditions, free of the bias. And this is the curious mind. It's curiosity that engenders our innocence. If we can maintain that openness and curiosity instead of rejecting aspects of ourself or life, then we can navigate that beautiful balance, that lovely verge of sincerity and playfulness and spontaneity and lightness and power and groundedness, and recognize that in everything that's actually happening in every moment.
I'm happy that you shared it, because I also noticed for some time I was really very much experiencing this what I would say endless quality of peace and peace and silence and nurture, kind of a nurture, but quiet. But when I would rest long in that, I would also sense this stream of aliveness, this stream of wanting to express, and this curiosity, what you said, and this just seeing everything as a big adventure and as possibilities and opportunities. So it seemed for me then that kind of it's really has this two streams, this calm and peaceful, and then but very alive quality. And maybe we can just address that a bit more, that our listener can really open themselves to be available for this kind of seemingly different qualities.
Definitely. And typically what's referred to as duality, that the most common state for the human experience is quite dualistic. And the nature of the mind is dualistic. So it wants to see things and pigeonhole things. It's this or it's that. And we know that historically there's a lot of preconditioned ideas, even around the spiritual journey and metaphysics, and that enlightenment is this, it's not that, and you should be this, not that. Even meditation, for example, the notion that it should be silent, no mind. For example, in Patanjali's Lokas, it says that enlightenment is the cessation of identification. Well, is it really? Or is it's the cessation of fixation with identification? So, you know, we still have thoughts, but if we're fixated with them, then we become trapped and we're stuck in the dualism. If we recognize thoughts happen, but we don't hold fixation, then we're free to experience this wonder of our nature, our expression, that creation is form, formlessness, one, not one. And actually, if we take it even deeper, it's not even just dualistic, it's what I refer to as tridactic. And that is, it is the experience perceived of duality or contrast, that's part of having the play of creation. If we don't have contrast, we don't have the experience of being. And then we have the perceived duality where we get stuck in this or that. And then we have the truth that it's all of it simultaneously. It's this, it's that, and it's this, that. So it's not even just dualistic. And the wonder is, as we embrace this and we open ourselves again curiously, we begin to just recognize it for this instead of resist and fight and try to trap and make it one thing or another. And there's so much more freedom in this, which is why the great enlightened ones refer to this whole journey of creation, awakening, falling asleep, reawakening, etc., as Leela, play. Leela literally translates into the word play.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I really got this sense of like waves, kind of this wave movement and ups and downs and coming and going and appearing and disappearing. That feels just so natural. And I had some years where a lot is also happening for me in the night, and when my conscious mind is resting, I felt like always being pulled and wide and expand, and just as if my field would just be pulled bigger and bigger. And my sense is that when we are on that, as you said, sincere path, there needs to be a widening happening on different levels. And what in your experience, or let's say become more concrete, what do you offer people which are drawn to be with you to expand on these different levels? What did you find out? What serves people really in that movement?
Wow, well, there's so many things I already shared about nature, and as a very strong example, I see that a large factor in the struggle for us to maintain this expansive state of being in awareness, rather than as a concept, but as an aware lived experience, is because we are so disconnected from nature. If we go back to our indigenous roots, our shamanic roots, our earth roots, we see that when we live at one with the cycles of nature and existence, we're in a whole brain way of living and thinking. So we're not in a reductionist world where everything is narrowed down to the separate individual self, the idea of separate things, separate entities. When we live at one with nature, we're in a state of interconnectedness, whole systems thinking, and we are then supported in a way that is part of a lived experience. It's not just conceptual. So this is probably the strongest reminder for humanity now. And even look what's happening on the planet with the climate crisis that's been happening, with the COVID pandemic. It's been such a massive shake-up that we've been shocked out of our sense of structured reality, that we can be sure and certain of what we think it is and the way it works. And nature is a force that surpasses that, and we're being reminded of that. And that if we don't restore that relationship, things fall apart, they're unsustainable. And so we see that reflected at the individual level in people's mental health, their inability to have a deeply nurturing state that is spiritual, and to sustain that sense of deeper awareness, more expansive awareness. And we see it in our relationships with each other, in our politics, the way we're governing the world. It's really disheveled and fractured. So if we look at the example, the difference between an individual that is interconnected with the natural order of things and modern human, we see earth being spatial, vast and expansive. I am creation, existence with a body. I am not a separate body from you or from the place in which I am sitting, the earth beneath me, the cosmos that surrounds me, from every tree, rock, river. This is all an extension of the same self. And so I embody that. It is spatial, interconnected, interdimensional. Now, if we compare that to modern human, we see contracted, isolated, insulated, separated, reductionist thinking, deficient living, and consequently the perception of separation as if that is real. And the more a human is caught in that perception, the more they need to protect themselves. And the more they need to protect themselves, the more they need to control. And the more you need to control, or you do control, the more you need to control in order to stay in control. And so it gets stronger and stronger to the point that that field of tension is so narrowed in, and it's a self-fulfilling loop then, that one becomes so deficient, so reduced, lacking love, lacking everything that we're seeking, which is to be all that we are, to live it freely and wholly. And this is an absolute illustration for us to consider what it means then to awaken. Is it something just conceptual, or is it about our whole relationship with life? The way we're thinking, the way we're meeting it, our relationship with this moment, with nature, with each other, it's all of it.
So lovely to listen to you. And I mean, I receive always images then, and I really had this when you were referring to this contraction and controlling. I really got a person in a tiny, narrow cage, kind of really not having place to breathe and to expand. And I also sense, I mean, when you look at the world and this contracted, controlling people, they also have big difficulties to really, let's say, connect to what is really their true calling and their service and their contribution. And there seems to be a connection between when I'm able to, as you described so beautifully, to expand into all my levels, into my interdimensionality, and really be not different from life, but then I'm totally interconnected, and life and I am no difference. And there it can become really clear what is my unique expression, what is my way of playing with life, caring about life. So there again we come to this contrast of being white, but in the same way receiving kind of can be like a clear laser beam which is guiding me into the direction. And maybe you can refer a bit to that, because many people which are listening to our conversation, they know that a shift is needed, and many feel this impulse, I want to contribute, but I'm not so sure how and what is mine to do. And maybe you can address that issue a bit.
Well, here's the irony too, is that at the same time as being contracted and cut off and living in the state of perception, most people also experience this externalization. So instead of being rooted in our core, most people are looking to find themselves outwardly, or taking the information from the external and wearing that. And so people have fallen out of their center, in a sense. People are pulled into the future. They're entangled in the past. They're constantly chasing the carrot of the future and the carrot of someone else's story of what is right opposed to wrong or better, etc. And so initially, what is really needed is a disentangling from that externalized attachment and information. And that does require a dose of courage, because most people have become so entangled in those relationships and the externalization that if we don't do that, we're not good enough, we're not going to be safe enough, secure enough, loved enough, right enough, perfect enough, etc. Never enough. And so to the emotional body, it's a very, very challenging thing to let go of. It does take trust, because initially we have to be willing to surrender. And this is where there comes a point where there is greater risk in holding on than letting go. And only the individual can feel and know that moment. And unfortunately, for most people, it arises at a point of crisis, when you haven't been watching the signs enough, listening enough. The truth is, we are powerful beyond measure. And so even if we reach a point of crisis, the wonder is we are designed in a way to endure change, to go through transformation. So if we look back through our life, we know, we can see we've been through many cycles of crisis or trauma, and we've undergone those passages we thought we couldn't get through, and we did. Why? Because our being, our nature, our consciousness is designed for that process of change. This is creation. So if we can trust and surrender first to the not knowing, then we can rest into that potency of consciousness and creation that is within us. It will guide us. It will carry us. It will bring us through that process of unraveling. And once we start that, you know, you can't stop it. As everything starts to unravel, in those gaps, in the cracks, truth begins to emerge. And so for us to work with that consciously then, rather than have to wait for a crisis, is the greatest gift. We can recognize the signs. We can acknowledge, this is about me relinquishing these learned habits and patterns, disentangling, coming back into the not knowing, back into the quiet, and just resting. Be here in this space, and the truth will emerge. And it can't not, because we are made this way. And I do feel that inherently we know this, even though we are told the opposite. We're trained into the idea that we're not powerful enough, we're not sufficient as we are, that we have to change something or believe someone else who's supposedly more powerful or more entitled, etc. But inherently something within us does know. Every single one of us has had that little whispering voice of our soul from the very beginning, or the tap on the shoulder that just jiggles something in the back of us, goes, something's not right. It's just a case of us learning to trust that again.
Beautiful. And yeah, and sometimes it can even feel as if you are a bit schizophrenic when you perceive this conditioned self and this world with this information, but then you also sense this whisper, you know, what you just said, from another level of what you are, and where you sense this willingness to transform and this impulse of life and all of that. And yeah, and in times it really can be a bit difficult. How, yeah, which part do I really nourish? Which part do I trust? And how to navigate that? And so I love that you address that. And I guess there are some listeners and viewers which maybe find themselves in that you know, this play basically.
Yeah. So in response to that, I want to again emphasize how powerful and supportive nature is. Through my own journey, I know there could have been many moments where I may have lost that integration point of clarity or knowingness, because most people around me thought I was mad. And so there were some moments where I was right on the edge of questioning, hang on, am I actually mad when I'm the only one that seems to be experiencing and seeing things this way? And the truth is, no, you're not alone. There are just so many people who do see and experience in this way. But the thing that nurtured me and maintained that grounding for me to have a framework to integrate all of my experiences and maintain that balancing point was nature. I think a lot of people forget that nature is a far greater source of conscious intelligence than any one single one of us. That intelligence does inform us, it does guide us. And if we allow ourselves to rest into nature again, for example, take your shoes off and stand barefoot on the earth, walk on the earth barefoot for half an hour, and you will feel yourself recalibrated, restored, and brought back to a point of centering. Or go sit on a rock, sit under a tree, and just forget about trying to work it out. Because that's the thing that trips up most people, is you get really caught on this, that what is right? You know, when you talked about the schizophrenia, that's the attachment of the mind, trying to get it right, trying to work it out. Truth doesn't have to be worked out. It is just about remembering and experiencing it. And there is no more powerful way to remember, to know and experience truth than within nature, because we are that. We are created through nature, and nature is reflecting that back to us, is guiding us, and it restores us. And there's so much evidence today around the studies of the impact of green space and blue space, that it literally changes our brainwave activity, our physiology. And I really deeply see and believe that the great amount of our dis-ease, our mental illness, our physical dysfunction is because of our disrupted relationship with Earth, that we've made Earth toxic, and because she is the greater source of creation, we are also toxic. We are out of balance, out of order. We're out of order with ourselves and therefore with the greater life. So try that for those of you who are listening. When you catch yourself feeling confused, oh, what do I believe? Do I believe this? Do I believe that? Which way should I go with this? What's right? What's wrong? Just recognize that's the mind struggling. And even just that recognition will give you a bit more breathing space. And then relax that for a bit. Forget about it. Go sit on a rock, sit under a tree, and then you're going to drop into a different state, a different space of beingness. And that's where actually it's so incredibly simple. Your true nature is already here. It's not something you have to go and get right or learn or make. It's already here.
Yeah, and I also love that it's nature, it's the outer nature and the inner nature. So this, yeah. And I wonder, Isira, if you would be willing to guide us a bit into that state of being even more. I mean, it's very tangible already in our conversation, but we can maybe even more consciously create a space for our audience where everyone can really get a deeper sense and taste of what you are talking about in a little guided inner journey into our inner nature.
Absolutely. I would love to share that. And in preparation of that, let's consider a few things. The value of our breath, our breathing, and that breath is the interface between form and formlessness, between our inner and outer reality. And that if we learn to modulate our breathing, we can access different brainwave activities, which means literally meditation is a science. We can bring ourselves into a deeply aligned state, even just with our breathing. And so if we trust in that and relax with the breath, then the rest naturally follows. Okay, so we're going to start with some breathing first. But before we do, let's just have a quick little wiggle, a move and a stretch, because it's always good just to make sure, you know, that the body is a little bit limber. And particularly if you've had an agitated day and you go and you try to sit to come into calm, the body's still holding all this agitation. It's more effective to throw that off first. So even, for example, you might want to go for a really big walk or jump up and down for 10 minutes or just shake your body vigorously before you want to sit deeply. So that's just a little tip for future moments as well. So having had a little bit of a stretch, and you find a comfortable position, and check in with your body first that you're sitting in a balanced fashion, and your back is upright, and you start to consciously rest into this moment, tune into your body. And we're going to begin with 3 deep full breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And so as you breathe in, notice that the breath is an opening. As you breathe in, you are opening and opening. And as you breathe out, you are releasing and emptying. Breathing in, deepening and lengthening the breath. And as you breathe in, feeling yourself open and open to this moment. And that as you do, life is flowing into you. And as you breathe out, you are emptying, letting go, and letting be into this moment. And again, breathing in deeply, open and aware in this moment, receptive to life that is here breathing with you. And as you breathe out, allowing yourself to fully arrive here. As you continue breathing, each breath is rising and falling. Notice this, that even beyond your control, breath is happening. There is rising and falling, the ebb and flow of life force within you, opening and emptying. And within this space of breathing, of life being here, flowing in, flowing out, you are being. Life is being. Notice this, that within this presence of this moment, despite thoughts and feelings coming and going, life rising and falling, is you, beingness. This beingness is here, always has been here, always will be, always here. As you notice this, take a deep breath into your innermost being. As you do, gently affirm to yourself, I am here. Notice that within you, this essence, pure awareness, has always been the constant presence behind every thought, every event, beneath the identity, the labels that you may have collected, the stories of life experience. Beneath all of this is pure awareness, the seer. And within this, all things are experienced and illumined from your innermost being that you could not even begin to find its beginning. It has always been here, even if you look back to the moment before this moment, the moment before the moment before this moment, yesterday, a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, 10 years back. Always this presence has been here, the backdrop, the space in which all is occurring. Even if you travel back to childhood, to infancy, before you were born, as you were in the womb, before you were conceived, always beingness, always pure life force, energy, and all things illumined within this. Likewise, this beingness remains unfixed, untethered. And so as you feel and notice the depth, the openness and expanse, it is awareness that extends beyond the body, into the room, into the space, the earth that is beneath you, this shared planet of creation of all creatures, the cosmos in which Earth is suspended. Even if your awareness extends to the furthest galaxies, still this is in awareness. All here, connected within pure beingness. All things arising from within beingness. All things an extension, an expression of beingness. Where do you begin? Where do you end? Here you are. Notice that even as you breathe, is it just this small field of breath, or is it that this breath is connected to the room and the space of the room, the walls and the beyond the walls, the trees of the environment that surrounds you, the clouds in the sky, the rivers, the oceans, the atmosphere, the cosmos. What are you breathing? Where do you begin? Where do you end? Here is the flow, the presence of all energy in continuum. As this flow of energy, you are form, formlessness. All is the one field of life. As you breathe deeply, you are the breath of life. As you live and experience existence, you are a manifestation of earth, of spirit, of light. As this, you are a portal of creation. Notice that here in every moment is the flow of creative forces within you and through you. Just breathe with this. As you breathe with this, notice you are both inner and all expanding being. All that you experience is centered here, always here. Take a breath into this, into your innermost being, feeling yourself grounded, rooted, anchored in this ground of being. Notice there is this axis of being that as you center deeply within yourself, you are the all-connected point of yourself and creation. As you rest in this, really notice what it feels like. Notice the quality of simply being here, that your senses are open and alive, that your beingness is spatial, it is not linear, it is not confined to thoughts, stories, or identity, it is not caught in the past or imaginings of the future. It is alive and emerging, rising and falling here. As you observe this, notice there is a deep inner calm and a freedom, a flow and aliveness, power, peace, oneness, love, awareness, all here. Here within you is the knowingness of being connected with all existence, that we are truly as one being. And as you feel this and breathe this and know this, you are filled with the truth of your soul, the perfection of the creation that is you, that flows within you and through you, the perfection of all being, all creation, and that here now, all is in divine orchestration, all is in truth with you. Take a deep breath into this, acknowledging, recognizing the creation that is you here. Allow yourself to feel, to be fully present, completely available to all that you are, all that is creation within you and around you. As you embrace this, notice how you are seated in yourself, your ability to fully feel, experience openly, curiously, innocently all that you are, all that is here, and that within this is the love, the sacredness, the trust, the knowingness, the space to rest, even in not knowingness, and that within this not knowingness is all you need. Just allow yourself some moments to bathe in this. And now, as you embrace this, I want you for a few moments to reflect on the difference of what it is feeling anchored and rooted, grounded in your being, in your axis of being here now, compared to when you get pulled into the mind, you get pulled into the future, into stories and conditions. Notice the contrast of energy, of vibration, that almost immediately you might lose a sense of your empowerment, the wisdom that is within you, and the knowingness that all is being held and guided by creation, that you are a perfect part of it. Notice the contrast. Just observe this curiously, purely for your own gift of awareness. And take a moment to acknowledge that and breathe again, feeling the depth of beingness here within you, the ground of being. As you breathe in deeply, gently affirm to yourself, I am here. And now allow yourself to imagine what it is, to see from this moment what it is to be grounded in beingness, to live with all your senses engaged and open, to be in spatial awareness, connected from here within you. Notice there is a higher vibration, a deeper resonance of being, a greater clarity of awareness, and that this flows through, it transfers through your being into the relationship that you're having with everything, that you feel you are a part of earth, of creation all around you, that you are nurtured and supported by this, and that you are in sacred communion with this, empowered to respond from a place of awareness and peace and love. And that even in those moments that you may not see your way forward, you are still grounded in being. You are able to rest, to be present, to be guided, and to once again respond. Notice there is a power, a certainty, and a trust in the ground of beingness. That you are this, existence is this, always here. And so, as you feel and experience the ground of being that is here now within you, always here now within you, take a deep breath again into your innermost center. feeling the power, the ease, the lightness, the love, the oneness, the flow, the connectedness and wholeness. Breathe deeply, feeling this flowing within you, through you, and all around you. Take some moments to give thanks. And breathe with this gratitude, feeling it flow through every cell, pulsing through your being, radiating through your aura, vibrating in harmony with all existence. As this centered presence here in the ground of being, aware, open, connected, receptive, take a deep breath into your body, feeling all of your senses alive, engaged, consciously here now. Likewise, that you are part of the creation field, connected with earth, with light, with all energies of creation. And as you feel this, know that this is always here. As you breathe into your body, breathe deeply, gently wiggle your toes and fingers, maintaining this centeredness, feeling the axis of being here. And as you gently stretch now, very slowly open your eyes. And as you slowly open your eyes, really allow yourself to see and experience this is existence. You are here as this, within you and all around you. Everything is an extension of the same being, the same whole spatial field, and here you are. Notice how new and fresh it is. It's never the same from one moment to the next, and yet it is always the same beingness. And as we rest in this, engage with this, we always have the ability to respond and to know that we are that source of creation and we are being created by it all. We can welcome it all, be nurtured and loved and guided by existence. We are together as one.
Thank you so much, Isira, for providing us this lovely, beautiful space. And I just want to share one image my inner vision received while I was deeply immersed in your guidance and in this presence. The image I got was that Mother Earth is kind of opening her hands, and everyone was sitting in the hands of Mother Earth, and then every person would open their hands like that and holding Mother Earth in their hands. So that was a ongoing movement of the earth holding us and we holding the earth. That was a very constant image I just was kind of in while I was deeply being in that lovely guidance. And I just wonder, I mean, we are coming to the end of our time together, and you are offering different invitations to people which are interested to go deeper with you. Is there anything you want to highlight or to mention in the context of the summit which you would like people to maybe have a look at on your website? I will provide the link.
Yes, well, we're all very aware that our highest intention is to be our true self, and for us to embrace this again so that we can restore love and harmony and to be empowered to bring forward our true nature in the world again. We're all sharing this vision, and we know that it's a time for us to nurture our own connection, because we know it begins with ourself. That is the journey. This is where the change happens. It is within ourself. And that it's not just about an isolated individual experience, that it is a time for us to recognize and restore our interconnectedness, that no matter where we come from, no matter our background, our upbringing, we are all part of this time. And this is a time of calling in truth, restoring our values, regenerating life, nature, the world, revisioning ourselves, rewriting our narratives, reawakening, reclaiming everything that is true. We are all part of this time. We are all the regeneration. And so as we recognize this, we can see that it's our opportunity to come together and to recognize that there is support and community, which is why I provide the many programs I do. There is the platform, The Awakening Place, where people can find many programs ranging from a simple practice like alpha breathing, which I mentioned the value, the importance of breathing, that as we learn to work with that, we can much more easily rest into that deep state of presence and hold that in the world, not just as something removed and sitting on the meditation cushion. So there's a whole range of programs available in the Awakening Place, and have a look at the website because there's a lot of content there of value to us all. In particular, I mentioned about understanding our Indigenous roots and restoring our relationship with nature. So I offer the 4 pillars of law as a way to navigate ourselves with where we're at in the world now, and that we can have faith that this is a time of immense hope, because that power exists inside each of us. And there are so many tools available for us to embrace and recognize that same power and truth inside ourselves.
Thank you so much, Isira, for being part of this Conscious Evolution Summit, for making the space in your schedule, and for sharing your love, your presence, your wisdom with us in such a generous, unique, loving way. I really enjoyed being with you, and I will provide all the links so that the audience has easy access to your providing deeper teachings. And I also want to thank you who were joining us in our flow together. And I deeply believe that you got this opportunity to be really in touch with your true nature, and maybe even finding out in that space what are your next steps to contribute. I received also an image that when we are rooted in that, there is such a nurturing nectar flowing through us, and it flows into all our actions and everything what we touch and meet. And I just imagine if everyone who is really in connection with that and aware of that, how this nectar could really nourish everything around us. And in that sense, let's spread that nectar all over.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all about love, and we are truly connected, and the more we emanate that presence from within ourselves, the more we elevate that within each other. So thank you, Puria, for this beautiful sharing and holding the space that you do, that provides a gift of reflection and truth affirmation for so many people. Thank you.
I thank you, and all the best to you, Isira, and my love again flowing towards you and toward all our listeners. And I hope to see you also in the next conversation. Goodbye for now.